The coffee burned her tongue, but Diana Zimmerman barely noticed as she stared at the email that had just destroyed what little faith she had left in humanity. Her ex-boyfriend had not only cheated on her with her former best friend, but apparently they had been laughing about Diana's trust in them for months. She closed her laptop harder than necessary, drawing a few glances from other patrons in the small bookstore café where she worked as an assistant manager. Rough morning. The voice was deep, warm, and came from a man who had just approached the counter with 3 hardcover books tucked under his arm. Diana forced her customer service smile into place, though it felt like wearing a mask made of glass. Just the usual. Did you find everything okay? The man was tall, probably in his early 30s, with dark hair that looked professionally styled but slightly mussed, as if he had been running his hands through it. His clothes were expensive but understated, a gray sweater that probably cost more than her rent and dark jeans that fit him perfectly. His eyes were a striking blue-gray, and they studied her with an intensity that made her uncomfortable. "I did, thank you." He set the books on the counter. "Are you all right? You look like you just received bad news." Diana felt her fake smile slip. "I appreciate the concern, but I am fine, just personal stuff." She scanned his books, all classic literature. "That will be $72.18. He handed her his credit card without looking away from her face. "I do not mean to pry, but sometimes talking to a stranger helps. No judgment, no history. No offense, but strangers are exactly the problem." The words came out sharper than she intended, and she immediately regretted them. "Sorry, that was unprofessional. Here is your receipt." He took the bag but did not move away from the counter. "Someone hurt you recently." It was not a question, and Diana felt something crack inside her chest. "Someone hurt me repeatedly, and I was stupid enough to keep trusting them." She did not know why she was telling this to a complete stranger, except that his eyes held genuine concern, not the pity she had been getting from everyone else who knew about her situation. "That does not make you stupid. That makes you hopeful, which is actually quite brave." Diana laughed, but it sounded hollow even to her own ears. "Hope is just another word for naive. Trust is a luxury I can no longer afford." The man was quiet for a moment, and Diana noticed that the line behind him was growing. "I should let you get back to work," he said finally. "But I hope you will reconsider. Not everyone is unworthy of trust." "Easy for you to say," Diana muttered as he walked away, though she found herself watching him leave through the front windows. He climbed into a sleek black car that definitely did not belong in this neighborhood, and then he was gone. The rest of her shift passed in a blur of transactions and restocking shelves. Her manager, Patricia, found her in the biography section just before closing time. "You have been quiet today, even for you," Patricia said, her kind face creased with worry. She was in her 50s, had run the bookstore for 20 years and treated Diana like a daughter, just processing some things. Diana straightened a row of books that did not need straightening. "You know that feeling when you realize you have been living in a fantasy? That the person you loved never actually existed?" Patricia squeezed her shoulder. "Marcus was a fool, and Jenny was never really your friend if she could do that to you." "The worst part is not even the betrayal," Diana said quietly. "It is knowing that I will never be able to trust anyone that way again. I feel broken, Patricia, like something fundamental in me shattered, and I do not know how to fix it." "You do not fix it alone, sweetheart. You find someone who is willing to help you heal, piece by piece, however long it takes." Diana wanted to believe that, but the wound was too fresh, too deep. The stranger came back 3 days later. Diana was reorganizing the front display when she looked up and saw him browsing the new releases section. He was dressed more casually today, in a navy jacket and white shirt, but he still had that air of quiet confidence that made people naturally look at him. She told herself to stay behind the counter, to let him browse in peace, but her feet carried her forward anyway. "Can I help you find something?" He turned, and his face lit up with recognition. "The skeptic returns. I was hoping I would see you again. This is where I work, so the odds were in your favor." Deanna crossed her arms, defensive. "Looking for more classics. Actually, I was looking for a recommendation. Something that will restore my faith in humanity after a particularly brutal week of negotiations." Despite herself, Deanna felt her curiosity perk up. What kind of negotiations? The kind where everyone is trying to take advantage of everyone else, and trust is just another bargaining chip to be traded. He smiled, but it did not quite reach his eyes. "I suppose we all have our reasons for cynicism." Deanna studied him more carefully. "You do not look like someone who gets taken advantage of very often. Looks can be deceiving. But you are right. I have learned to protect myself. The question is whether protection is worth the isolation." The words hit too close to home, and Deanna found herself softening slightly. "If you want to restore your faith in humanity, try the memoir section. True stories of people overcoming impossible odds. It helps to remember that kindness exists, even if it feels extinct sometimes. Will you show me?" The request was simple, but something in his tone made it feel more significant. Diana led him to the back corner of the store, very aware of his presence beside her. He was tall enough that she had to look up to meet his eyes, and he moved with the easy grace of someone comfortable in his own skin. "These are my favorites," she said, gesturing to a particular shelf. "Real people, real struggles, real hope." He pulled out a book about a teacher in an underprivileged school and read the back cover. "You believe in second chances, for other people or for myself?" "Both." Deanna was quiet for a long moment. "I want to. But I also know that fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me. I have been fooled enough. What if someone promised to earn your trust, not demand it, to prove themselves worthy through actions, not just words?" He set the book down and turned to face her fully. "What if someone said they understood your walls and was willing to wait outside them for as long as it took?" Diana's heart was beating too fast. "Why are you asking me this?" "Because I have not been able to stop thinking about you since we met. Because I saw something real in your eyes, even through the pain. Because I think maybe we are both looking for the same thing, we just do not believe it exists anymore." "You do not even know me," Diana protested, but her voice was weak. "Then let me. I am Alexander Reynolds, and I would like to take you to dinner. No expectations, no pressure, just two people sharing a meal and conversation." Deanna wanted to say no. Every self-preservation instinct she had was screaming at her to walk away, to protect what little was left of her heart. But there was something in Alexander's eyes, a sincerity she had not seen in a long time, that made her hesitate. "I have trust issues," she said finally, the words barely above a whisper. "Like serious, probably need therapy-level trust issues. I will question everything you say and do. I will look for hidden motives and lies. I will push you away when you get too close because that is what I do now to survive." Alexander did not flinch. "Then I will spend my life being trustworthy, however long it takes, whatever it requires. I will show up, Deanna. I will be consistent. I will prove that not everyone will hurt you." The use of her name startled her until she realized he must have seen it on her name tag. "You cannot promise that. Life does not work that way. I can promise to try. I can promise that I will never deliberately deceive you or take your trust for granted. I can promise that if I make a mistake, I will own it and do better." He pulled out his phone. "Give me your number. If you change your mind about dinner, you do not even have to call. Just know that the offer stands. no expiration date. Against her better judgment, Deanna found herself reciting her number. Alexander typed it in and then immediately called it so she would have his. "Think about it," he said softly. "I will be patient." He bought the memoir she had recommended and left, and Deanna stood in the empty aisle feeling like her carefully constructed walls had just been hit by a wrecking ball. Patricia found her 10 minutes later still standing in the same spot. "Who was that?" "Trouble," Deanna said. "Definitely trouble." But that night, lying in bed scrolling through her phone, she found herself reading the text he had sent. Just one line. "Thank you for the recommendation, and for being brave enough to be honest about your fears." She did not respond, but she did not delete it either. 3 days passed. Alexander did not come back to the bookstore, but he texted her every morning. Nothing pushy or demanding, just simple observations about his day. A funny sign he had seen on his morning run. A quote from the book she had recommended. A picture of a sunset from his office window that was genuinely beautiful. Diana did not respond to any of them, but she read every single one. On the 4th day, he sent a different kind of message. "There is a new Italian restaurant that opened downtown. They have a table with a view of the city lights. No pressure, but if you want to join me Friday at 7, I will be there whether you come or not. I hope you do." Deanna stared at the text for hours. She drafted and deleted a dozen responses. Patricia finally caught her agonizing over it during her lunch break. "Just go," Patricia said, exasperated. "What is the worst that can happen? He could turn out to be exactly like Marcus, or worse. Or he could be exactly what he seems, and you could miss out on something wonderful because you are too scared to try. Being scared is rational after what I have been through. Being scared is human. Letting that fear control your entire life is just sad." Patricia's voice was gentle but firm. "I am not saying trust him blindly, Deanna. I am saying give him a chance to prove himself. You told him about your trust issues and he did not run. That has to count for something." Friday evening found Deanna standing in front of her closet, torn between a dozen different outfits and an equal number of doubts. She had texted Alexander that afternoon, a simple "I will be there," and his response had been immediate. "I am glad. See you soon." The restaurant was elegant, but not ostentatious, with low lighting and soft music that created an intimate atmosphere without being suffocating. Deanna spotted Alexander immediately. He was at a corner table, dressed in a black button-down shirt that emphasized his broad shoulders, and he stood up the moment he saw her. "You came," he said, and the relief in his voice was palpable. "I almost did not." Deanna let him pull out her chair, feeling awkward and nervous. "I am still not sure this is a good idea." "Fair enough. How about we make a deal? Anytime you feel uncomfortable or suspicious, you tell me, no matter how small it seems. We address it immediately, honestly." Alexander sat across from her, his expression serious. "I meant what I said, Deanna. I want to earn your trust, but I cannot do that if you do not give me the chance to prove myself." The waiter came, and they ordered. As the evening progressed, Diana found herself relaxing despite her reservations. Alexander was easy to talk to, asking thoughtful questions and listening carefully to her answers. He told her about his work, and it was only when he mentioned a major pharmaceutical company that Diana realized who she was sitting with. "Wait, Reynolds Pharmaceuticals. You are that Alexander Reynolds." Her voice came out sharper than intended. "You are a billionaire." Alexander's expression grew cautious. "Does that change things? It explains the expensive clothes and the car and why you think you can just make promises about proving yourself." Deanna felt her walls slamming back into place. "Is this some kind of game to you? Rich guy tries to win over the damaged bookstore girl?" "No." The word was firm, almost harsh. Deanna, look at me. He waited until she met his eyes. My money has nothing to do with this. In fact, it usually makes things harder because people either want something from me or they assume I am arrogant. I did not tell you because I wanted you to see me, just me, before you saw the bank account. That is not fair. You let me make assumptions. You are right, and I apologize. I should have been upfront from the beginning. Alexander leaned forward, his voice low and intense. But I am asking you to consider why it matters. Has anything I have said or done suggested I am not serious about this? About you? Deanna wanted to throw her napkin down and storm out, but honesty forced her to admit he had a point. He had been nothing but consistent, patient, and genuine in every interaction. I do not know how to do this, she said finally. I do not know how to let someone in when every instinct I have says I will just get hurt again. Then we will take it slow as you need. Alexander reached across the table, palm up, an offering rather than a demand. One day at a time, Deanna. Let me show you who I am through my actions, not my words. Judge me on what I do, not what I promise. Deanna stared at his hand for a long moment before slowly placing hers in it. His fingers closed around hers, warm and steady, and something in her chest loosened just slightly. One day at a time, she repeated. But I am warning you, Alexander, I am going to be difficult. I am going to test you and doubt you and probably drive you crazy. I am counting on it. His smile was genuine, reaching his eyes this time. Anything worth having is worth fighting for. They finished dinner, and Alexander walked her to her car. He did not try to kiss her, just squeezed her hand and told her he would text her tomorrow. Deanna drove home feeling confused and hopeful and terrified in equal measure. Over the next few weeks, Alexander proved himself to be frustratingly consistent. He texted every morning, called when he said he would, and showed up for every date exactly on time. When he had to cancel because of a work emergency, he called her personally to explain and sent her flowers with a handwritten note apologizing for the inconvenience. Diana found herself looking forward to his messages, to the sound of his voice, to the way his eyes lit up when she made him laugh. But the fear never fully went away. She caught herself analyzing every word, every gesture, waiting for the moment when the mask would slip and reveal the monster underneath. One evening, about a month into their relationship, they were walking through a park near her apartment when Diana's phone buzzed with a notification. It was a tagged photo from Marcus, her ex, showing him and Jenny at some party looking sickeningly happy. Deanna stopped walking abruptly, her breath catching in her chest. What is wrong? Alexander's hand was immediately on her back, steadying her. Nothing, just my past reminding me why I do not trust people. Deanna tried to keep walking, but Alexander gently caught her arm. Talk to me, please. And suddenly, standing there in the fading sunlight, Deanna found herself telling him everything. About Marcus's infidelity, about Jenny's betrayal, about the months of lies that had made her question her own judgment. Alexander listened without interrupting, his expression growing darker with each revelation. I am sorry, he said when she finally finished. I am sorry they hurt you like that. I am sorry they made you feel like you could not trust your own instincts. The worst part is I still blame myself, Deanna admitted. Like I should have seen it coming, should have known better. That is not how betrayal works. They deceived you deliberately. That is on them, not you. Alexander cupped her face gently, forcing her to meet his eyes. Deanna, I cannot promise I will never disappoint you or make mistakes. I am human and humans are flawed. But I can promise that I will never cheat on you, never lie to you about something important, never deliberately hurt you. And if I do mess up, I will own it and make it right. How can you be so sure? Marcus probably thought the same thing in the beginning. Because I have seen what dishonesty does to people. My father built his company on ruthless business practices and broken promises. He died wealthy and utterly alone because no one trusted him, including his own family. Alexander's voice was rough with old pain. I swore I would never be like him. My word is everything to me, Deanna. It is the one thing money cannot buy back once it is broken. Deanna saw the truth in his eyes, the vulnerability he was offering her. I am scared, she whispered. I am so scared of getting hurt again. I know, but I am here, and I am not going anywhere. He pulled her into his arms, and Deanna let herself lean into his strength just for a moment. Take all the time you need. I will be here. Things shifted after that night. Deanna found herself opening up more, sharing pieces of herself she had kept locked away. Alexander met Patricia and charmed her completely. He brought books to Deanna that he thought she would like, remembered small details she had mentioned in passing, and never once made her feel foolish for her fears. 2 months in, they were having dinner at Alexander's penthouse apartment when Deanna noticed a framed photo on his desk. It showed a younger Alexander with an older woman who had kind eyes and the same smile. That is my mother, Alexander said, following her gaze. She passed away 5 years ago, cancer. I am sorry, you must miss her. Every day. She was the only person who ever really saw me, not just the company or the money. Alexander picked up the frame, his expression soft. She would have liked you. She always said I needed someone who would challenge me, keep me honest. I definitely do that, Deanna said with a small smile. You do more than that. You make me want to be better. Alexander set the photo down and turned to face her. Deanna, I know we are taking things slow and I respect that, but I need you to know that this is real for me. You are real for me. I am not looking for something casual or temporary. Deanna's heart was racing. What are you looking for? Everything. A partner. Someone to build a life with. Someone who will call me out when I am wrong and celebrate with me when things go right. Someone who sees past the money and the company to the person underneath. He took her hands. I am looking for you, Deanna, just you. I am still broken, Deanna said, but there were tears in her eyes. I still have days where I do not believe this is real. Then I will remind you, every single day if I have to. Alexander brushed a tear from her cheek. I love you, Deanna Zimmerman. I know it is soon and I am not expecting you to say it back, but I wanted you to know. I wanted there to be no doubt about where I stand. Deanna felt something crack wide open in her chest, something that had been frozen since Marcus's betrayal. I think I love you too, she whispered. And that terrifies me more than anything. We will be terrified together then. Alexander kissed her forehead, gentle and reverent. One day at a time, remember, the first real test came 3 months into their relationship. Deanna was closing the bookstore when she received a call from an unknown number. Against her better judgment, she answered it. Deanna, it is Marcus. Her blood ran cold. How did you get this number? I ran into Patricia. Listen, I need to talk to you about something important. We have nothing to discuss. Deanna's hand was shaking as she locked the front door. It is about your new boyfriend. Deanna, do you have any idea who Alexander Reynolds actually is? What he is capable of? Goodbye, Marcus. Wait, I am trying to help you. The man is ruthless in business, Deanna. He destroys companies and lives for profit. Is that really someone you want to trust? Deanna ended the call, but the seed of doubt had been planted. She found herself researching Alexander that night, reading articles about his business practices, about the competitors his company had crushed, about the lawsuits and the allegations. Nothing illegal, but definitely aggressive. Definitely not the gentle, patient man she had come to know. She was still awake at midnight when Alexander called for his usual good-night chat. You sound strange, he said immediately. What happened? Deanna took a breath. Tell me about how you do business. The real story, not the sanitized version. There was a long pause. Where is this coming from? Marcus called. He said some things about you, about your company. I looked it up, Alexander. You have destroyed a lot of people's livelihoods. I see. Alexander's voice was carefully neutral. Are you at home? Yes, why? I am coming over. This is not a conversation for the phone. He was there in 20 minutes, still wearing his work clothes, his hair disheveled from running his hands through it. Deanna let him in, and they sat on her small couch in tense silence. You are right, Alexander said finally. I have made decisions that hurt people. I have shut down factories and eliminated positions and prioritized profit over sentiment, and I am not proud of all of it. Then, why did you do it? Deanna needed to understand, needed to reconcile the man in front of her with the story she had read. Because I inherited a company that was failing, that was going to take thousands of jobs down with it if something did not change. Because sometimes the choice is between bad and worse, and you have to pick bad and live with it. Alexander met her eyes. I have never done anything illegal or deliberately cruel, but business at that level is not kind, Deanna. It is strategic and sometimes cold, and yes, people get hurt. How is that different from what Marcus did? He hurt me for his own benefit too. The difference is I was trying to save something bigger than myself, and I owned every decision I made. I did not lie or cheat or blame others. Alexander's voice was intense. Marcus hurt you for selfish reasons and then lied about it. I have made difficult choices, but I have always been honest about who I am and what I have done. Diana wanted to believe him, but the doubt was there now, poisoning everything. How do I know this version of you is real, the one who is gentle and patient with me? Maybe that is the act, and the ruthless businessman is who you really are. Because you have seen me at my most vulnerable. You know about my father, about my mother, about the parts of myself I hide from everyone else. Alexander reached for her hand, but she pulled away. He flinched but did not push. Diana, I am both people. I am the man who has to make hard decisions for the company, and I am the man who is completely in love with you. Those things are not mutually exclusive. But which one is stronger? If it came down to it, if you had to choose between me and your company, what would you pick? You. The answer was immediate and unequivocal. I would pick you every single time, and that should probably scare me more than it does. Diana wanted to believe him so badly it hurt. I need time to think about this. I need to figure out if I can accept all of who you are, not just the parts you show me. I understand. Alexander stood, and for the first time since she had met him, he looked defeated. I will give you space. But Deanna, please remember that I have never lied to you. I have never pretended to be something I am not. The man you have gotten to know these past few months, that is who I am. My work is just one aspect of my life, not the entirety of it. After he left, Deanna spent the next 2 days analyzing everything she knew about Alexander. She talked to Patricia, who pointed out that everyone had different sides to their personality. She even, reluctantly, talked to her sister, who reminded her that Marcus had been trying to manipulate her one last time. He is bitter that you moved on, her sister said bluntly. And he wants to poison your new relationship because misery loves company. The question is, are you going to let him? In the end, it was something her mother had told her years ago that made Deanna realize what she needed to do. Trust is not blind faith, honey. It is looking at someone with full knowledge of their flaws and choosing to believe in them anyway. She called Alexander on the 3rd day. Can we meet at the park, our spot? He was already there when she arrived, sitting on the bench where they had first talked about Marcus. He stood when he saw her, and the hope in his eyes nearly broke her heart. "I am sorry," Deanna said before he could speak. "I am sorry I let Marcus get in my head. I am sorry I doubted you. You do not have to apologize for being cautious. I understand why you needed to think things through. Let me finish." Deanna took his hands, holding on tight. "I have spent so much time protecting myself from being hurt that I almost threw away something real. You have been nothing but honest with me, Alexander. You told me from the beginning that you would earn my trust through actions, and you have done exactly that. You have shown up, been consistent, been patient with my fears. And I have been looking for reasons to push you away instead of accepting that maybe, just maybe, you are exactly who you say you are." "Deanna," Alexander's voice was rough with emotion. "I love you," she said, the words coming easier this time. "I love you, and I trust you, and I am choosing to believe in this. In us. Because you have spent every day since we met proving that you are trustworthy, and I am done punishing you for other people's mistakes." Alexander pulled her into his arms, holding her so tightly she could barely breathe. "I love you so much, and I promise you, Deanna, I will spend the rest of my life making sure you never regret taking this chance on me." "Just keep being you," Deanna said against his chest. "That is all I need." They stood there for a long time, wrapped in each other, and Deanna felt the last of her walls crumble. It was terrifying and liberating in equal measure, this act of complete trust. But as Alexander kissed her forehead, her cheeks, finally her lips, she knew she had made the right choice. The next 6 months flew by in a blur of happiness Deanna had not known was possible. Alexander integrated into her life seamlessly, charming her friends and family with his genuine interest in their lives. He supported her when she decided to go back to school for a degree in library science, offering to help with tuition, until she firmly told him she would handle it herself. He backed off with a smile but made sure she had everything she needed to study, from a better laptop to a quiet space in his apartment where she could focus. Diana, in turn, softened his harder edges. She went with him to business dinners and reminded him to see the people behind the numbers. She pushed him to start a charitable foundation focused on providing education to underprivileged children, and she was there when he visited the first school they sponsored, watching him light up as he talked to the students. They learned each other's rhythms, flaws, and fears. Deanna learned that Alexander had nightmares about becoming like his father, that he second-guessed every major decision, wondering if he was doing the right thing. Alexander learned that Deanna still had moments of panic when he was late or changed plans unexpectedly, and he adapted, over-communicating until she relaxed. One evening, almost exactly a year after they had met, Alexander picked Deanna up from the bookstore with an unusual request. "Will you come somewhere with me? It is a surprise, but I promise it is a good one." Diana had learned to trust his surprises, so she agreed. They drove out of the city to a small coastal town about an hour away. The sun was setting as Alexander pulled up to a beautiful Victorian house overlooking the ocean. "What is this?" Deanna asked as he led her up the front steps. "Something I have been working on." Alexander unlocked the door and gestured for her to enter first. The house was empty but freshly renovated, with large windows that framed the ocean view and hardwood floors that gleamed in the fading light. It was charming and cozy and absolutely perfect. "Alexander, whose house is this?" "Ours, if you want it to be." He turned to face her, and Deanna saw nervousness in his expression for the first time in months. "I know you love the city, and I am not asking you to give up your life there. But I thought maybe we could have this as a retreat, a place to escape when the world gets too loud. Somewhere that is just ours." Deanna walked through the empty rooms, imagining them filled with books and furniture and laughter. "This is too much. It is not enough." Alexander followed her to the master bedroom, where the window seat looked out over the waves. "Diana, this past year has been the best of my life. You have changed everything for me, made me want to be better, do better. You have shown me what it means to be truly known and loved anyway." He was pulling something from his pocket, and Diana's heart stopped as she realized what was happening. "I am not doing this to rush you or pressure you," Alexander said, dropping to one knee. "But I need you to know that I am all in, Diana. I want mornings and evenings and everything in between. I want to grow old with you in this house, raising our kids, building a life that is bigger than either of us alone." The ring was beautiful, a simple diamond that caught the last rays of sunlight and threw rainbows across the room. "I have trust issues," Diana said, but she was crying and smiling at the same time. "You know that, right? And I promised I would spend my life being trustworthy." Alexander's voice was steady, certain. "I meant that, Diana, every word, so I am asking you, will you marry me? Will you let me spend the rest of my life proving that I am worthy of your trust, your love, everything you are?" Diana thought about the broken girl who had stood in the bookstore a year ago, convinced she would never trust anyone again. She thought about all the ways Alexander had patiently, consistently proven himself. She thought about the life they could build together, filled with love and trust, and the kind of happiness she had stopped believing in. "Yes," she said, pulling him to his feet. "Yes, I will marry you, Alexander Reynolds." He kissed her then, deep and desperate and full of promise, and Diana felt something settle in her chest. This was what it meant to trust someone completely, to give them your heart knowing they would guard it as carefully as their own. They were married 6 months later in a small ceremony on the beach in front of their coastal house. Patricia walked Diana down the aisle, crying the entire time. Alexander's eyes never left Diana's face as she approached, and when he said his vows, his voice was strong and clear. "Diana, you took a broken promise that I made a year ago and let me turn it into something real. You taught me that trust is not given blindly, but earned through consistent action. You challenged me and changed me and loved me even when I did not deserve it. I promise to spend every day of the rest of my life being worthy of your trust. I promise to show up, be honest, and love you with everything I have. I promise to be your partner, your best friend, your safe place to land. This is my vow to you, and I will never break it." Diana could barely speak through her tears as she said her own vows. "Alexander, you appeared in my life when I thought I would never trust anyone again. You were patient when I was difficult, steady when I was wavering, and unwavering in your commitment to proving yourself. You showed me that love does not have to hurt, that trust can be earned, and that some promises are kept. I promise to believe in you, in us, in the life we are building together. I promise to love you through the easy days and the hard ones. I promise to be your partner in everything. This is my vow to you, and I will keep it always." When they kissed as husband and wife, their small group of friends and family cheered, and Diana felt complete in a way she had never experienced before. 3 years later, Diana sat in the window seat of their coastal home, watching Alexander play with their 1-year-old daughter on the beach below. Little Emma had his eyes and Diana's stubbornness, and she was currently determined to catch the waves as they rolled in. Patricia had retired and given Diana and her husband the bookstore as a wedding gift, and Diana now managed it while finishing her graduate degree. Alexander had scaled back his hours at the company, focusing more on the charitable foundation and spending time with his family. They had found a balance, a life that worked for both of them. Diana's phone buzzed with a text from her sister. "Still can't believe you found your fairy tale ending. How does it feel to be completely, sickeningly happy?" Diana smiled as she typed back. Like I finally learned that trust is not about never being scared. It is about choosing someone who makes the fear worth facing. She watched Alexander scoop up Emma and swing her around, both of them laughing, and thought about how far she had come. From the broken girl in the bookstore to the woman who had learned to trust again, to love again, to believe that some people really do keep their promises. Alexander looked up and saw her watching. Even from a distance, she could see his expression soften, could feel the love that flowed between them as tangible as the ocean breeze. He pointed up at her, and Emma waved enthusiastically, and Deanna waved back. This was what it meant to trust someone with your whole heart. Not blind faith, but informed choice. Not ignoring flaws, but accepting them. Not expecting perfection, but valuing consistency. Alexander had promised to spend his life being trustworthy, and every single day for the past 4 years, he had kept that promise. Deanna closed her laptop and headed down to the beach to join her family. The sun was warm on her face, the sand soft beneath her feet, and when Alexander wrapped his free arm around her waist and pulled her close, she leaned into him without hesitation. "I love our life," she said softly. "I love you," Alexander replied, kissing her temple. "Thank you for trusting me with your heart. Thank you for never giving me a reason to regret it." Emma squealed and reached for Deanna, and as she took her daughter into her arms, Deanna thought about the journey that had brought her here. From betrayal to healing, from fear to faith, from isolation to this beautiful, messy, perfect family. She had warned Alexander about her trust issues, and he had responded by spending every day since proving himself worthy. That was what real love looked like. Not grand gestures or empty promises, but consistent action. Not demanding trust, but earning it. Not rushing healing, but supporting it. As they walked along the beach together, Emma chattering happily between them, Deanna felt a peace she had never thought possible. Her past no longer defined her. Her fears no longer controlled her. She had taken the biggest risk of her life by trusting Alexander, and he had rewarded that trust with unwavering love and commitment. That night, after Emma was asleep and they were curled up on the couch watching the stars come out over the ocean, Alexander pulled Deanna close and whispered, "No regrets." "Not a single one," Deanna said, and meant it with every fiber of her being. "You kept your promise, Alexander. You spent your life being trustworthy. Our life is just beginning," he corrected gently, "and I will keep that promise every day for the rest of it." Deanna believed him, not because she was naive or foolish, but because he had earned that belief through years of consistent action. Because he had proven that some people really do mean what they say. Because he had shown her that trust, once shattered, can be rebuilt stronger than before. This was their story. Not of perfection, but of persistence. Not of blind faith, but of earned trust. Not of a fairy tale, but of something better. A real, lasting love built on a foundation of honesty, patience, and unwavering commitment. And as Deanna drifted off to sleep in her husband's arms, listening to the waves crash against the shore and the soft sound of her daughters breathing through the baby monitor, she knew with absolute certainty that she had found what she thought no longer existed. She had found someone worth trusting. Someone who understood that trust was not a given but a gift, earned slowly and cherished fiercely. Someone who had promised to be worthy of that trust and had spent every single day since keeping that promise. Alexander Reynolds had walked into her bookstore 4 years ago and seen past her walls to the wounded woman inside. He had not demanded her trust or tried to rush her healing. He had simply promised to be trustworthy and then proven it through action, day after day, month after month, year after year. That was the kind of love worth having, the kind worth fighting for, the kind worth trusting in. And Deanna Zimmerman Reynolds had learned that sometimes The greatest act of courage is not protecting your heart, but opening it up one more time to someone who has proven they will guard it as carefully as their own. She had taken that risk, and it had given her everything she had ever wanted and more than she had dared to dream. Their story was proof that broken trust can heal, that wounded hearts can love again, and that some promises, when made by the right person, really are kept forever.